everyone, it's Christian. We just aired episodes 3 and 4 on this Cherokee Chief that we put the 5.3 and 4L65 in at Woods Off-Road on Motor Trend's YouTube channel, and there were some reader comments, so I figured I'd get out the old camera, and I'm not very good at any of this stuff, but I just answer honestly some of the things that people were questioning or had comments on or whatever. So the first one, which everyone knew was coming, was, why'd you do an LS? I'm so sick of LS swaps. They're so dumb, they're so overused. And yeah, I agree with you. But bottom line, I had the damn engine already. Already had the LS engine. And you know, when I was younger, I'd see all these cool hot rods and stuff, and the cars were bitching and they looked rad. And you'd pop the hood and there was a small block Chevy in it. You know, it's like you get this awesome 34 Ford or this killer 47 Chevy. You know, why do you have a 290 horse Chevy 350? And the old dudes who knew, I just want to drive the thing. I don't want to work on it. You know, I put the engine in there. It's reliable. It's got enough power. And that's kind of the deal with this. You know, I really don't care what's under the hood making it go. I just want to get in, turn the key, and every time I turn that key, I want to have it reliable and go down the road. This thing's got probably 335 to 350 horsepower, doesn't burn any oil, you know, and like I said, I had the engine. There were these motor mounts that I got from the Flop Shop Off-Road, sorry, the Flop Shop, and BJ's Off-Road now has the same motor mounts since Flop Shop isn't making them anymore. So I mean, it was literally a bolt-in affair. We didn't have to fabricate anything to get the engine in. So yes, you know, why didn't you use a Hemi? Well, I didn't have a Hemi. Why didn't you go with the big block? A big block's huge, and honestly, I don't need that much torque, and I certainly don't need the weight. Diesel, I've got a diesel Jeep already. Certainly a Cummins R2.8 or something similar would have been rad in this. I had thought about putting an R2.8 in because when you look at the horsepower and torque specs on the R2.8, it's pretty similar to the factory 360 two-barrel. But again, didn't have one of those. Or a Ford big block or a Ford engine. That would have been cool. It would have been, you know, I think a 5-liter Mustang engine in one of these would be pretty cool. But again, I had this engine. The other question, why didn't you just rebuild the 360? Yeah, I really thought about that because I was happy with the Turbo 400. It had some issues where I'd drop it in reverse and it would take a minute to catch every now and then, so I knew the 400 probably had to be rebuilt, but that's not a big deal. Rebuilding the 360 though, I think by the time I was done adding up the cost of machining it, you know, doing the cylinder heads, and then on the cylinder heads, I'm like, do I put aluminum heads on it or do I rebuild these iron heads? All that stuff, you know, the camshaft selection, all that. Putting injection on it, the carburetor was okay, but I did have in this thing, I had a lot of bad vapor lock issues. So anyway, by the time I was done adding everything up, I was pretty close spitting distance to the LS. Granted, this one's brand new, but you know, if I were going with a junkyard LS, it certainly would have been less expensive to do the LS compared to doing injection and all that stuff on the 360. And then the other thing with the 360, I don't know what happened in that thing's life, but the factory pulley brackets and everything, just the alignment was off. So the power steering pump belt would kind of squeal, and the alternator, you know, and if you've ever worked on an AMC 360 swapping, like say the water pump, it's a half day. You know, it's just like brackety bracket. You know, this thing's super easy to work on, and if I ever do have to work on it. So that's kind of my thinking behind there. What about going with a quiet exhaust versus like a barky, loud dual chamber, twin chamber Flowmaster? Well, you know, again, it's that old guy thing. You know, this one does sound great. It's got a bitchin' burbly idle. It really, you know it when you get in the throttle. But I didn't want an obnoxiously loud 4x4. You know, I had that in my Ram Charger. That thing, you know, you knew I was coming from 2 blocks away. This one just sounds like a good, healthy V8, which is what it is. Let's see, what else did I write down here? I'm not savvy enough to have the screen in front of me. So, oh, Quadra-Track. Why'd you keep the Quadra-Track? Well, here's the thing with the Quadra-Track. Quadritracks have a bad rap, first of all. Full-time T-case, and then Morse used to make, a USA company, Morse used to make good replacement chains. Then for a long time, all you could get was Chinese-built chains, which were horrendously bad quality. They'd stretch almost instantly. As long as your chain's okay, there's not much else that goes wrong with these Quadritracks. This one I rebuilt before BJ's Off-Road started carrying USA-made chains. So now if I need it, I can get a good USA-made chain from BJ's Off-Road, which is really nice. But when I built this particular one, when I first got this Jeep 12 years ago, I took 3 different Quadritracks and combined them to make one good one. And this one does have a mile marker part-time kit in it, which was another comment. I read someone saying that thing's gonna really vibrate, full-time Quadritrack without a CV front, and you're right, but this is not a full-time Quadritrack. This one's got the mile marker part-time kit in it, so it's essentially 2-wheel drive. Our drive shaft does not spin on this car going down the highway. And yes, I'm sorry, I call a Jeep a car every now and then. It's just vernacular. Fuel tank. Where'd I get the fuel tank? That's a BJ's Off-Road unit. They have different models. You can get a stainless or steel or an aluminum. This is the aluminum one, and it's got BJ's optional in-tank pump with that does enough pressure for injection. So on this, I just put the pump that they'd supplied. You set the height on the pump pickup and all that stuff. It bolted right in. You drill holes in the frame, and then just mount it however you want with some through bolts or whatever. It fits really nice, and I hooked the factory fill. I'm using the factory fill, even though this one has duals, but that's a story I won't get into. Factory fill hose, and with the fill vent, and I can just, as much fuel as I can dump in this thing at one time. It does not click and shut off. It feels just like a modern car, if not maybe even a little better. So I was really happy about that, because I've known some people with some aftermarket tanks that you know, it takes them a half hour to fill the thing at the pump. So this one, really good 27-gallon tank. I'm really happy with it. It fits phenomenal, and it even looks really nice from the back of the car. What lift is in this thing? This is a BDS 4-inch front and rear spring kit, and then we've got the shocks we put in on the show, which are pretty firm. But when you get off-road and really start womping it in the woods, it really, believe it or not, comes into its own. I was surprised how good this thing goes at speed in the woods, in irregularities off-road. So that's some of my answers to this Jeep and why we did what we did, and I chose what I chose. But it's been great so far. I've got about 1,000 miles on the conversion, and looking to drive it more. Thanks for watching. The 4x4 Garage shows are on Motor Trend's YouTube channel, and we are gearing up now for Ultimate Adventure, so that's coming soon. So thanks for watching.